Hi, I'm Amanda, and I am making this video because I want to bring attention to something that everyone has very much dropped the ball on. I thought about doing a kind of scripted thing that was maybe a little somber, but I've decided that's not really my style. I'm just going to speak from the heart, and my heart has curse words in it, so if that's your takeaway from this is my language, then just don't waste either of our time. I'm going to give you a little background on myself to kind of explain what it is I'm talking about here. I'm 34 years old. I am a comedian. Um, I have lost a lot of my life to illness. I lost my 20s, most of my 20s to illness. From 20 to 22, my heart was failing. I finally got a pacemaker, and then I got a few years where things were okay and I could live like a human person does. And then at 25, I got sick again. It took 2 years to get Medicaid here in the state of Missouri. And then for the next 2 years, I was bedridden and dying. This is the time when most people are graduating college, starting careers. Comedians are, paying their dues and things like that. And I was just trying not to die. So we finally figure out that I have lupus. And I started getting treatment and I got better pretty quick. And then about 6 months later, when I was finally getting to a place of moving forward, my goal is to go to California or New York to pursue comedy. I got pneumonia, and because of my completely fucked up system, I got sepsis and almost died. Came out of the hospital with a wheelchair and oxygen. And Medicaid doesn't cover physical therapy. So I had to get myself out of the wheelchair. It took about 8 months to recover from all of that, 3 months to get out of the wheelchair, which I did on my own because fuck that. I'm not staying in a wheelchair. Um, and I finally got to a place where I was okay enough. I was getting treatment, I was doing well. And I moved to Minnesota so that I could work and save money at the same time. Got a great job in California. And on my way to California, I stopped in St. Louis to visit and got stuck, and that was 2 years ago. And I've not been well since I got here. I got sick before I left Minnesota. My worst nightmare was getting stuck in St. Louis, in Missouri, with no health care and sick, which is, I'm living my fucking nightmare right now. Now, I refuse to go back to bed. It's just not an option. I won't do it. And I'm working, which I'm not really supposed to be doing. I have 14 ulcers. I'm bleeding internally. My kidneys and my liver aren't functioning properly. Lupus just going unchecked, and that's just my life. So I'm working, and I'm doing side jobs, and I'm doing comedy. Unfortunately, the big thing that suffers in all of that is the comedy because I have to work. I can't not work, not have money. I can't wait a year to get disability. And even if I got disability, it's less than $700 a month. And you just can't fucking live on that. So I'm just like fucked here, basically. Now, the point of this isn't poor, pitiful me, because it's not poor, pitiful me. Like, I make do. I am living my life to the best of my ability. It's difficult. I'm in a lot of pain all the time. The mornings are the worst. It's hard to get up and move and function, and some days I'm practically crawling to work. However, I refuse to get depressed about it. That's helping nobody. And so, that's part of the reason that comedy is so amazing is that it helps to keep you laughing and thinking of good things. And I know I'm going to get there one way or the other. I'm going to find a way to get the fuck out of here, but I'm going to die here if I don't get out of here. And the point of this is I am one of so many people. There are so many disabled people that nobody talks about. I've heard so much about representation, and there are advocacy groups that are loud and proud and making progress for Black, Muslim, Hispanic, gay, transgender, you name it. There are advocacy groups making progress, getting representation for these people. Nobody is doing this for us. There's no march for us. And by definition, we're not going to be out in the streets marching because we're all fucked up. And we need allies and advocates for us because there are a lot of things that we can't do ourselves. And don't get me wrong, we're going to bust our ass to do what we can for ourselves. But nobody's out there. You don't see us on TV. There are no, I mean, liberals are super cute when you're like listing the Trump laundry list of horrible things, like, oh, disabled reporter. Like, yeah, that's great. But how many times do you flip on the news and see disabled journalists? You don't. I mean, if there are disabled people in movies, they're either the butt of a joke or the entire movie is about how they're ill and gonna fucking die. Okay? We are not one dimensional people defined by our illness. However, our illnesses do affect pretty much every area of our lives. So we need people to give a shit about us. We need people to be out there with as much passion for our representation as there are for everybody else. And it's great that we get thrown out there during like the healthcare debate, but that isn't representation. You know, when an Asian girl sees an Asian woman as the lead in a big movie, it affects her, and it should. And it's great that that happens, but we don't have that. And so, what I really want to do is get younger people like myself who have lost time and don't have time. I mean, I'm not going to be an old woman. That's just the way it is. And I'm living on borrowed time already. So the time I do have is fucking precious. And there are a lot of people like myself who also have very short, precious time, more so than most people. And I am sure there are lots of us out there. And I would love to get a show um, of disabled people. I don't care if it's like a stand up, you know, like show, like a tour or a show on television. Like, I know there are people out there who could watch this and who have pull and who could help us. I would love to see this. This would be life changing for people who may not otherwise have an opportunity because it is so hard physically to really make a splash in comedy when you are having trouble functioning after you worked all day um, because you're not okay and should be working in the first place. Um, and so I'm urging if anybody can help me get this off the ground because this isn't just me. There are so many people. And there are so many other things I want to do to help represent disabled people. This is kind of in my brain a good start and an in for me to try and make these other things happen. So even if you're not in a position to help, please share this video. Please retweet this. Um, please bring this to as many people as possible because nobody is bringing attention to us and we really need you guys.